Boeing just did something the aviation world wasn't prepared for. A move so unexpected that it reopened a project everyone assumed was dead forever. No rumors hinted at it, no leaks warned about it, no insiders predicted it. Just a sudden shift behind the scenes that changed the story entirely. And it all began with one airline, one decision, one request powerful enough to resurrect a jet Boeing once buried. Because if Boeing actually builds the aircraft now back under study, it would become the largest twin-engine passenger jet ever designed in aviation history. A jet so long, so heavy, and so extreme that it pushes certification physics to the edge. So the real question becomes unavoidable. Why bring back a jet Boeing already walked away from? And why bring it back now? The answer starts with a name most people never heard: the Boeing 777. For more than 10 years, the 777 existed only as an internal idea. A giant stretch of the 777X family that Boeing studied briefly and then abandoned. It wasn't shown at air shows. It wasn't introduced in presentations. It wasn't teased to customers. It simply vanished. Because Boeing had bigger problems, years of delays, certification pressure, a crisis that consumed every available resource, a program that kept slipping, and a company that couldn't afford another engineering mountain to climb. The 777 was quietly pushed aside, placed inside a folder, and forgotten, until Emirates brought it back. At the Dubai Air Show, Emirates made a move that instantly rewrote Boeing's priorities. They placed a massive order for more 777-9s. But the order wasn't the headline. The hidden detail underneath it was. Emirates formally backed Boeing's feasibility study for the 777-10. That single move forced Boeing to reopen the idea, to re-examine the physics, to revisit the numbers, to reconsider the possibility. And that changed everything, because now Boeing wasn't just responding to a question. They were responding to an opportunity, a chance to recover lost ground, a chance to answer Airbus, a chance to create a new category of aircraft when the world quietly needs one. The moment Emirates signaled interest, the project shifted from theoretical to strategic. And once strategic, it could no longer remain buried. Because the Boeing 777-10 isn't just a stretched aircraft, it's a category of its own. Start with the already enormous Boeing 777-9, the world's longest commercial jet. Now add 16 more feet. 16 more feet of cabin, 16 more feet of structure, 16 more feet of load and weight and aerodynamic responsibility. The result is a jet measuring 268 feet long, 268 feet, longer than a football field, longer than any twin-engine aircraft ever designed, longer than any Boeing jet in the company's history. With that kind of length, the jet can carry nearly 500 passengers, almost an A380 level crowd on a twin-engine frame. That's why this aircraft matters. Because no modern jet replaces the A380. No aircraft offers that capacity today. No design even attempts to, except this one. The 777-10 stands alone. A twin-engine super jumbo, a category aviation has never seen. But the engineering challenge is brutal. The problem isn't stretching the fuselage. Boeing knows how to do that. The problem isn't building a bigger cabin. That's manageable. The problem isn't reinforcing the landing gear or adjusting the tail. The real problem is the certification requirement that terrifies engineers: the single-engine takeoff. For every twin-engine aircraft, regulators require proof that the jet can safely take off even if one engine fails at the worst possible moment, right at rotation. For a normal aircraft, that's hard. For an aircraft this long, this heavy, and this extreme, that becomes a physics nightmare. The aircraft must maintain directional stability. It must continue accelerating despite asymmetric thrust. It must rotate within acceptable runway limits. It must climb away on only one engine. If it can't do all of that, the aircraft cannot be certified, not even for a test flight. For the 777-10, this isn't just a checklist item. It becomes the heart of the entire engineering debate. Every inch of stretch makes rotation harder. Every kilogram added makes climb out slower. Every increase in fuselage length amplifies yaw in an engine-out scenario. The margin of safety shrinks. The precision required expands. Engineers must ask questions other aircraft never face. How do you keep a 268-foot machine steady with asymmetric thrust? How much rudder authority is enough? Can the wing generate enough lift at V2 speeds on one engine? These questions aren't theoretical. They determine whether the aircraft can exist at all. And that's the mountain Boeing wasn't ready to climb years ago, so they shelved the 777-10. But the world changed, and Emirates changed with it, because Emirates now faces a future problem bigger than any airline has publicly acknowledged. The Airbus A380, the aircraft that built Emirates' global empire, is disappearing. The super jumbo era is ending. Production has stopped, Airbus has moved on, and support will slowly decrease. By 2041, every A380 Emirates owns will be retired. This is not optional. This is guaranteed. And that exposes a massive hole in Emirates' strategy. A hole no current aircraft can fill. The A350-1000 is too small. The 777-9 is too small. The 787 family is far too small. Even stretching the A350 wouldn't produce A380 level capacity. Emirates needs something bigger, not in the future, now. They asked Airbus for help. Airbus said no. They asked for a stretched A350. Airbus declined. They explored an A380neo. Airbus rejected the idea completely. With no options left, Emirates turned to Boeing. And Boeing was the only manufacturer with a concept that could match their needs. The 777-10. And that's why the project is alive again. But the Emirates problem isn't just about aircraft size. It's about hub economics. Dubai International is slot constrained. It cannot simply add more flights. Its entire model depends on moving massive numbers of passengers efficiently. If seat counts drop, revenue drops. If aircraft shrink, connectivity shrinks. If capacity weakens, the hub weakens. For Emirates, the replacement for the A380 is not a luxury. It is survival. And survival requires a jet that doesn't exist unless Boeing builds it. But while Boeing considers reviving the giant, Airbus is not stepping aside quietly. At the same Dubai Air Show, Etihad ordered new fleets from Airbus. Air Europa selected the A350. LATAM renewed interest in A350 operations, and Fly Dubai, a Boeing-exclusive airline for over a decade, ordered 150 Airbus A321neos. That was a blow, not because Boeing lost a sale, but because Boeing lost loyalty. Airbus sent a message: Boeing is vulnerable. And Boeing knows it, because while Airbus grows stronger, Boeing still struggles with the 777X timeline. The 777-9 is years behind schedule. Certification remains slow, production challenges continue, scrutiny is intense, and costs are rising. The 777-10 enters this moment like a wild card. A big risk, a big opportunity, a big statement. But will Boeing take the risk? Let's zoom out. The aviation world is entering a long-haul demand explosion. Passenger numbers are increasing globally. Airports are overcrowded. Runway slots are limited. Infrastructure expansion is slow or impossible. The world needs bigger aircraft, but the A380 is gone. The 747 is gone. The 777-300ER is aging. The gap is widening. The future requires high-capacity jets, but none exist. This isn't just about convenience. It's about mathematics. A crowded airport with no open slots cannot increase passengers unless aircraft grow. Cities like London, Dubai, Sydney, Frankfurt, Singapore, and Hong Kong already operate at maximum runway capacity. They don't need more takeoffs, they need more seats per takeoff. The 380s solved that for a time. Their retirement creates a vacuum, and vacuums create opportunity. The 777-10 could be the only jet capable of filling that vacuum in the 2030s and 2040s. The 777-10 is not just a design. It is a potential solution to a future crisis. But again, physics stands in the way. The single-engine takeoff requirement is what determines whether this aircraft lives or dies. If Boeing solves it, the 777-10 becomes the next great aviation milestone. If Boeing fails, the aircraft disappears forever. And airlines will face a future shortage of large-capacity airframes with no replacement in sight. That's what's at stake. But this story has another layer, a deeper one, because modern long-haul aviation is undergoing a structural shift. More people are flying internationally. Global tourism is rising. Business travel is diversifying. Migration patterns are changing, and the world is more connected than ever. But airports are not. Most major airports cannot add new runways. They cannot expand terminal space quickly enough. They cannot increase slot capacity. They are locked by geography and regulation. So how do you move more passengers through the same bottleneck? Bigger aircraft. This is why the A380 worked so well for Emirates. And this is why its retirement creates such a massive problem. The world quietly needs another big jet. A jet that carries more passengers per slot. A jet that uses less fuel. A jet that costs less to maintain than a 4-engine giant. The 777-10 could be that jet. It sits at the intersection of engineering ambition and market necessity. A place where risk meets opportunity. A place where the future of long-haul travel may be decided. Because Boeing now faces a rare moment. A moment where the world actually wants something big, something bold, something extreme. And the only question left is whether Boeing is willing to build it. Emirates has spoken. The market is shifting. Airbus has stepped back from the super jumbo class. And Boeing stands alone with the only concept capable of filling the void. If the 777-10 becomes real, aviation changes. If it doesn't, the era of very large aircraft ends forever. And everything, ticket prices, route planning, airport congestion, global movement, shifts with it. Sometimes the future isn't shaped by new inventions. Sometimes it's shaped by ideas the world abandoned. Until one moment forced everyone to look again. The Boeing 777-10 is that moment. A jet that died, a jet that returned, a jet that now sits on the edge of becoming the next giant of aviation. The decision is coming, the stakes are rising, and the world is watching. Because the sky doesn't stay the same forever. Someone always builds the next big thing, and this time it might be Boeing.